2.1 million. That's how many Americans identify as Hispanic. 19%. That's almost 1 in every 5 Americans. Latinos are already the largest population group in states like California and Texas. But the state line is no stranger to the tastes and sounds of Hispanic culture. Lee, Ogle, and Winnebago County respectively have 7, 11, and 15% of Hispanic families that make up communities there. One county, though, is actually home to way more than that national average. And you guessed it, in Boone County, almost 1 in 4 people are Hispanic. That gives Chicago a run for its money. You see, this month we celebrate the 62.1 million Hispanics spanning dozens of countries from Central and South America and the Caribbean islands, each country with its own separate states and regions filled with varying dialects, distinct cultural songs and dances, each with its own holiday dishes and customs and intricate histories. It would be impossible to understand all these complexities in just 1 year, let alone 1 month. Generations of Hispanic immigrants have sacrificed their lives to start from scratch in pursuit of an American dream. They've made a home here, weaving themselves into the American fabric. It's what's allowed us to enjoy these cultural tastes and sounds right here in our own backyard. This month, we invite you to learn something new about the 20% of people that make up our country, that make up our very own communities. You can head over to our website at WREX.com right now to learn more. Welcome back. Throughout our Hispanic Heritage Month coverage, we brought you the taste of Latin America that you can catch right here in the state line. We brought you the cuisines of Mexico, Peru, and Colombia. But today we travel to one of my favorite places in Latin America, the Caribbean islands, specifically to a place known as La Isla del Encanto, the island of enchantment. It's Puerto Rico. Cooking on the island draws inspiration from West Africa and Spain, and it includes staples like rice, beans, and my favorite, plantains. Today we're joined by the co-owners of Encanto's PR food truck. They started catering back in 2019, and just a year later they opened up their food truck for business. Good morning to Ashleen, Waylene, and Angel, the mastermind cook behind it all. It took a little bit convincing to get him here on set, but I'm glad you guys were able to make it. You know, there's not a lot of places where you can get some Puerto Rican food here in the state line, so I'm glad you've been able to come here and share it. Now, you guys have made us some mofongo. We can get the camera on here. It's right over here. If you guys can tell us, what is mofongo?
Mofongo is a mix of...
Welcome back. As we celebrate Hispanic culture this month, we're bringing you the taste of Latin America that you can find right here in the state line. Now, last week we took you to the coast of Mexico. Today we traveled to the South American country of Peru, a place popularly known for the ruins left by the Inca Empire hundreds of years ago. But Peru has so much more to offer. Its cuisine is influenced from its indigenous and immigrant population, with common staples like corn, potatoes, and seafood. Today we're joined in studio by a sweet couple that are owners of Lima Mar Restaurant and Cocktail Bar in downtown Rockford, actually celebrating 4 years today since their opening. A warm welcome to Rosana and Ross, who brought their Peruvian taste and smells. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, guys. I see you had brought several dishes from Peru. The first one, ceviche. Give us, their viewers, an explanation of what ceviche is.
Well, ceviche is an icon from Peru because we have the ocean.
You've probably been inside or driven by some of these buildings, never really giving any thought to the mastermind behind their design. What if I told you they were conceived by a very talented Hispanic architect that resides right here in the state line? As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month today, we celebrate a Hispanic leader in our very own community, Daniel Saavedra. Take a look.
I have to bring who I am.
We often hear the phrase illegal immigration, leading many to assume that anyone who enters the country without authorization is immediately treated as a criminal by the courts. But tonight, in part 2 of our series Immigration Decoded, we find out the legal reality is much more complicated. 13 WREX's Manny Estopiñan is sitting down with immigration lawyer Sarah Dady to understand how the government prosecutes these individuals.
Today we're breaking down what happens when someone enters our country without legal authorization, or some would say illegally. When the government goes to charge these people, they can approach it in different ways.
The government has the option to charge it as a civil violation or a criminal offense. Just like when someone violates our tax laws, it can be charged as a civil offense and there are assessed penalties, or as a criminal offense, depending on the facts.
Now, Dady makes it clear that entering the country without permission is a federal misdemeanor. It says so right here in Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 1325. But according to the ACLU, civil removal proceedings are the main way the federal government enforces immigration laws. That means most of those entering our country without authorization are charged with a civil violation, not a criminal one. And that gives our government an easier path because there's less protections in the civil justice system.
If someone is charged with a criminal offense and entering the country without permission is a federal misdemeanor, okay? If you're charged with a crime, full due process protections come into play. People have the right to a free lawyer. If you're charged with a civil offense, fewer due process protections. People have the right to a lawyer, but not a free one. There is no public defender's office for civil offenses like immigration court. There are no free lawyers for people charged with civil tax penalties, civil law.
Now, Dady explains since most of those immigration offenders are processed through the civil system, they aren't treated as criminals by the court. It's the same civil system you use to dispute your speeding tickets.
When we talk about someone who came in illegally, there's this idea that if you break any law, you're a criminal, which is not true. We have civil laws and criminal laws. People that violate civil laws are not criminals. People who speed down State Street are not committing a crime. They're committing a civil violation. They can be pulled over and fined. The way that we typically punish civil violations is through fines, monetary, not locking people up and separating them from their family forever.
But this is where immigration law is unique. While it is technically a civil violation, the government does detain thousands of people while their cases are processed. Legal experts call this administrative detention, arguing it's not meant to punish, but to ensure people show up to court, though critics argue the practice lacks due process.
Continues Operation Midway Blitz across the Chicagoland area. This afternoon, 13 WREX has obtained new video of immigration, customs, and enforcement agents present here in the state line. Earlier this month, the city of Rockford said residents notified police of an SUV marked ICE in the area. Right now, you're looking at surveillance video from the night of September 17th. You see an ICE vehicle driving through the parking lot of Rockford's police station on Broadway. Now, the SUV makes an eventual stop here near one of the entrances to the police station. 3 agents are then seen getting out of the car. The agents are not masked, but are armed and wearing protective gear. Now, at one point, 2 of the agents are seen approaching the station's front entrance and attempting to make contact. The city clarifies that the building was closed at the time and made no contact with anyone inside. The back of one agent's gear reads police federal officer, the other one just police. The make and model of the ICE marked SUV matches the Department of Homeland Security's recent rollout of the fleet. They posted this video on X back in August with the caption "Iced Out." The design, logo, and colors match the one seen in the Rockford area earlier this month. Now, the city of Rockford has also clarified that the Rockford Police Department had no contact with ICE before, during, or after that incident. Right now, elected officials are still trying to get more information from DHS on possible enforcement operations here in the area. Good afternoon. Welcome to 13 News at noon. I'm Manuel Estopiñan. Happy Monday to all our viewers. And we're kicking off our week with some very soggy conditions. Let's take a live look at downtown Rockford, where a round of storms is sweeping across the state line. Many could be caught in the rain on their way to lunch this afternoon. Now, if you're watching from home, I'm a little jealous. This is the perfect weather to bundle up on that couch with maybe a hot chocolate in hand. Now, while this afternoon weather isn't severe, keep those phones charged then close by, because there is potential for some later today. To tell us when we can expect some of those stronger storms and just how long they could last, let's check in with your Storm Track 13 meteorologist, Griffin. What kind of weather threats are we expected to see tonight? Thank you, Griffin. And right now, a live look at what road conditions are looking like across the state line. For most of the counties here in northern Illinois, those roads remain covered. So please be sure to slow down out there and give yourself plenty of time if you're planning to head out. And right now, we're following cancellation and delays from our major area airports. Chicago O'Hare International seeing 501 delayed flights and nearly just as many cancellations. Midway not seeing as many impacts with only 147 delays and just 47 cancellations. Now, the same system is also bringing in strong thunderstorms from the Midwest to the south and up to the Northeast. NBC's Angie Lastman has the latest from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And now with your election authority, 2026 marks a midterm election year for the country. And next Tuesday, Illinois is holding their primaries. We're giving you a rundown at some of the pivotal races and what's at stake. We begin with federal office for the House of Representatives. Voters in Rockford and Freeport will choose their Republican candidates between Carroll County Board Chair Julie Bickelhop and small business owner Dylan Vansel for the 17th Congressional District. Now, the winner of this race will face Democratic incumbent Eric Sorensen in the midterm November election. Now, this can be a competitive district. Back in 2022, Sorensen won by just 4% of the vote. Listen to the candidates' final pitches.
Living in this district for 27 years, being in this area, farming, agriculture is something that I have that my opponent doesn't. This is something that I can definitely use to the advantage of the district, but also the state of Illinois. Our economy is centered around agriculture. It really is a large portion of it. And I think we have to make sure we're keeping that healthy, figuring out how to make sure that we're passing family farms along and making that work.
I'm a small business owner. I have my union background. You know, I grew up on family farms, helping guys with, hog buildings and putting crops in the ground. I have a wide variety of experience. I've been on my local school board for the last 5 years as well, and fought for our kids during all the COVID, mandates. It's going to take somebody like that with a proven record of standing up for the next generation.
Let's head now to state office in Springfield for House District 89, where voters in several state-line counties will choose between House Minority Leader Tony McCombie and retired Chicago police officer Victoria Honorado. This race will not have a Democratic challenger come November, so the winner of the race will head straight to the Illinois Assembly. Listen to their final pitches.
I continue to be present. I continue to be honest and transparent. And that's why voters should, vote for me. What you see is what you get. I haven't changed. My priorities haven't changed from day one. I think that's important. And just to continue to know that I am fighting, especially in a super minority, fighting for the families of the 89th in Northwest Illinois.
That there will be transparency and accountability. I have said from day one, I am a hands-on person. What I have done and how I have treated people as a police officer, and having that personal relationship, I will be available. You will always be able to contact me and get a hold of me. Right now,
And over in Stevenson County, residents should be aware of this. Republican judges race for the 15th Judicial Circuit. Local attorneys Judge Truman and Carla Neiman face off for a seat on the bench. Remember that one day one of these people could determine your fate if you're ever in trouble with the law. Check out our online candidate profile to hear what they'll bring to the bench. And we're also following the judges race for the 17th Judicial Circuit between two Democrats. Winnebago County residents will choose between Judge Aaron Hannigan and attorney Paul Carpenter. Both of these judges' race will be determined next Tuesday, so your vote is crucial. And if you still have questions about what else will be on your ballot, we've got you covered on our website. You'll find a profile for each of these candidates. There you'll learn about the people asking for your vote. We've also posted a complete list of polling locations for the Illinois primary, making it easy to find where you need to go. It's all available right now at WREX.com. Now, with your election authority, the Illinois March 17th primary is just days away, and we're closely following the race for the 15th Judicial Circuit. Stevenson County residents will choose between attorneys Carla Neiman and Judge Truman for their next circuit judge. With no Democratic challenger in the general election, whichever Republican wins next Tuesday takes the bench. Now, don't skip this race on your ballot. Remember, one day either of these people could determine your fate if you're ever in legal trouble. Let's meet the candidates. Carla Neiman was born and raised in Freeport and received her law degree from Coastal School of Law. Neiman spent 4 years at Stevenson County State's Attorney's Office, where she handled mostly misdemeanor cases. She then went on to work 10 years at a local private law firm before opening her own practice in 2017, where she continues to work today. During her time in private practice, she also briefly worked for the county's public defender's office. For the past 19 years, Neiman has worked alongside the Kiwanis Club of Freeport. She currently serves serves as their historian. Here's how she'll rule on the bench.
I'm strictly.
Let's go live to Washington, D.C. this morning, where lawmakers are currently working to advance President Donald Trump's domestic policy agenda. Members of the House Rules Committee convening very early this morning at midnight Central Time to begin key debate on that bill. Let's take you live inside that committee meeting where the bill must pass this critical step before GOP leaders can bring the bill to the House floor for a vote. Democrats are pushing back on the timing of the meeting. Republicans are pointing to crucial parts of the bill. Take a listen.
This isn't transparent to hold hearings at 3 a.m. on a bill of this size and this scope and this scale. That's not in the best interest of the country. You could just as easily delay it 5 hours, let the American public have an opportunity to listen to this debate, and then vote on the bill on Thursday. And all of you could go home for the district work period. So this false sense of urgency for 5 or 6 hours makes no sense.
Only in the mind of a Democrat could a 22% tax hike prevention be a bill that's characterized as trash. Only in the mind of a Democrat could giving our soldiers, our sons and daughters in uniform, what they need to be ready to protect us, to keep us safe and free, be a scam.
House GOP leaders are working to try to reach a deal on the remaining sticking points to be able to pass the bill out of their chamber. Thank you, Claudia. We're taking a look at the current projected prices for stock futures this morning. Those implied opens once again in the red this week. In a stunning reversal, President Trump pauses new tariffs on nearly all the nations the U.S. trades with, sending stocks soaring yesterday after weeks of market mayhem. While the president paused so-called reciprocal tariffs for time to negotiate, he increased taxes on imported goods from China, escalating the trade war with the world's second largest economy. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington. Welcome back now with your Consumer Report this morning. If you're having a hard time at the pump, well, don't expect gas prices to drop any time in the near future. Past Sunday, Energy Secretary Chris Wright said prices may not return to under $3 a gallon for months.
That could happen later this year. That might not happen till next year. But prices have likely peaked, and they'll start going down. Certainly with a resolution of this conflict, you'll see prices go down. Prices across the board on energy prices will go down. Putting this 47-year conflict to an end and preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons, of course, has come with short-term disruption. I think we've managed it fantastically, though.
And right now, this morning, the oil prices were up again in early trading, with Brent crude, the international standard, at about $95 a barrel. That's up more than 30% from the day the war started. Now, the average cost of a gallon of regular gas on Sunday was $4.05. Drivers were paying about $2.98 a gallon in late February before the conflict began. And since the start of the war, we've been seeing economic ripple effects across the country hitting several industries. For farmers in Mississippi, planting and maintaining crops are becoming too pricey, with the cost of fertilizer and fuels climbing. Alex Love spoke with local farmers who say peace with Iran won't solve the whole problem. And welcome back. We're heading to our nation's capital, to the steps of the Supreme Court of the United States, as they are currently hearing a pivotal case concerning birthright citizenship. Right now, President Trump is sitting inside the courtroom, making him the first sitting president to attend oral arguments at the nation's highest court. The Trump administration trying to push the limit of the constitutional guarantee by declaring those children born to parents who are undocumented ineligible for citizenship. The ACLU is challenging that executive order. They're ready to defend the issue in court today.
Birthright citizenship is such a foundational part of who we are as a country. It's like right there in the 14th Amendment that if you're born in this country.
U.S.-Iran war enters day 6 as American-Israeli strikes bombard the country. The Israeli army releasing this video you see here on your screen today, showing military strikes in Iran and Lebanon. According to Israeli officials, the video shows aerial strikes on what it says were missile launchers in Iran and Hezbollah command centers in Lebanon. Hezbollah launched drones and rockets at Israel on Monday, prompting Israeli retaliation that has killed dozens of people. And Iran released this video today showing what it said was the launch of a Khorramshahr-4 missile from an undisclosed location, with night footage capturing the weapon ascending into the sky there. Early this morning, Iran launched another wave of missiles at Israel, sending millions of residents into bomb shelters. And as the war in the Middle East continues, thousands of Americans are now stranded in the region as Iran retaliates for U.S. and Israel strikes with drone attacks on a variety of targets, prompting sharp criticism of the Trump administration for lack of planning. NBC's Zakir Simmons reports from Dubai. President Trump continues to make headway on possible talks with Iran. We spoke to a political science professor at Northern Illinois University who says Trump could be trying to replicate the successes he just had in Venezuela earlier this year, where the country is now run by someone more willing to work with the United States. But Professor Thurber says this scenario is quite different.
It seemed that the Trump administration was proactive in working with members of the regime to plan for what would happen after the ouster of Maduro. But I think Iran is a much more complicated case on that front, in that I don't think there are factions within the military or within the regime that are interested in working with the United States. And it seems like that regime and that military is much more cohesive than these other contexts.
And Professor Thurber says it's hard to explain what will be left of the Iran regime after the war and what will happen next. He says he'll be paying close attention to see if the U.S. and Israel make any attempts to seize or destroy Iran's uranium stockpile. Over now to Winnebago County this morning, where residents got a chance to learn more about the push to bring more powers to the county chairman's position. The position is currently held by Joseph Chiarelli. He was voted county board chairman back in 2020. But by the time Chiarelli was at the helm of the county, the chairman's power to run it had already been changed. Back in 1992, the chairman had power over the county administrator, but that changed more than 20 years later in 2015, when the board created an operations committee to oversee operations. Then in 2019, the power once held by the chairman was fully ripped away and delegated to the county administrator. Voters did have a chance to undo everything on a 2020 referendum question, but that measure failed to pass. Last night, the League of Women Voters of Greater Rockford hosting a public forum with current board members to weigh in on what changes in the chairman's power means for you. Thank you, Griffin. We begin this morning with a developing story out of Freeport. A boil order warning has been issued for the entire city after a problem was found on a main distribution line. Early this morning, the city detected a drop in water pressure and located a problem on a cast iron distribution main here at the intersection of Cottonwood Street and West Avenue. The city says this pipe was installed back in 1959. As a result of the break, the city is experiencing low or fluctuating water pressure. For now, residents are being advised to boil all tap water for at least 5 minutes before you drink it, cook with it, or even brush your teeth with it. As city officials are also urging you to use bottled water if possible. They say they're working to ensure the boil order can be lifted by tomorrow. Thank you, Sam. We begin this afternoon here at home, where the city of Freeport still remains under a citywide boil order advisory. Right now, crews are making repairs to a cast iron distribution main here at the intersection of Cottonwood Street and West Avenue. The city says the problem was located early Monday morning. As a result of that break, residents could be experiencing low or fluctuating water pressure. Now, as a result of the boil order, the Freeport School District did not hold classes today. School leaders said a makeup day will be scheduled for later in the year. For now, residents are being advised to boil all tap water for at least 5 minutes before you drink it or even cook with it. City officials are also urging you to use bottled water if possible. Yesterday, the city said they were working to get the order lifted by today. At this time, there's no update from them on when that will happen. And right now, with the health alert, health officials out of DeKalb County are reporting their first case of measles. Listen up in case you may have been exposed. If you were at the DeKalb Walmart on March 2nd from 2:30 to 4:45 p.m. or the DeKalb Post Office on Lincoln Highway last Tuesday from 6 to 8:30 p.m., officials recommended monitoring any symptoms, including rash, fever, cough, runny nose, or red and watery eyes. Health officials are urging you to know your vaccine status.
We take measles seriously because measles is highly contagious, but vaccination does provide a lot of protection. So if individuals have received the 2 doses of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, it's 97% effective.
And be sure to speak to your healthcare provider if you have any concerns. Mineral Wells, Texas. Now you're seeing a drone video of that extensive damage from a tornado that hit the town just last night. Destroyed industrial buildings and homes were seen across there with debris scattered for miles. Mineral Wells Police Department is asking residents to stay home and avoid traveling to those affected areas. Right now, the American Red Cross is on the scene to assist in recovery. NBC's Candace Sweat is there now with the latest.
So where we're standing now was once the front porch of this mobile home. And then here you have this mangled, back to you.
And just 20 miles east of Mineral Wells, this small town of Weatherford, Texas, also hit hard by those strong storms. One resident surveying the damage telling us how he really felt when those storms started rolling through.
There's my roof, there's my underpinning, there's my porch, there's my roof over there in that tree. My lawnmower.
Were you praying?
Praying, what's the word for it? Praying and cussing.
Now, Texas wasn't the only place that saw severe weather in their backyards. Violent weather hammered broad swaths of the U.S. heartland for the sixth straight day, Breed Vidiot reports. To lift off at 5:24 p.m. Central Time, and here's what we can expect in the first few minutes of the launch. By the 1 minute mark, the rocket has already reached supersonic speed. 2 minutes in, the booster rockets separate, and at 8 minutes, the Orion capsule reaches space, and that marks one of the most critical moments of the mission when the capsule separates from the rocket to start the 10-day mission to orbit around the moon. Now, the entire country will be watching with much anticipation for this historic trip. 4 brave astronauts began suiting up this morning and are expected to arrive at the launch pad this afternoon. NBC's Tom Costello is at the Kennedy Space Center. He's covered NASA for more than 20 years. And we turn now to man's last frontier, outer space, where right now 4 astronauts are returning back to Earth after a historic lunar flyby yesterday. This morning, NASA releasing some of those spectacular photos taken by the crew. Take a look at your screen. For the first time in history, humans have seen the dark side of the moon with their own eyes, and now so can you. Here's what the Artemis 2 crew saw during Monday's lunar flyby. NASA says the crew was about 4,000 miles from the moon at one point. They now hold the record for the farthest humans have traveled from Earth. The Artemis 2 crew officially going where no one has gone before, marking the farthest humans have ever traveled into deep space. NBC's Tom Costello has more from Johnson Space Center in Houston. Let's head now to my home state of Florida. Orlando is already one of the nation's top tourism destinations, but tomorrow they'll add another major theme park to its roster of attractions with the opening of Universal Orlando's Epic Universe. It's the first major theme park opening in the U.S. since 1999. NBC's Mark Barger gives us a sneak preview. I said it's great to be a Florida Gator. Say it with me. This morning, I have to give a shout out to my alma mater. It's a great day to be a Florida Gator fan as they clinch this year's men's NCAA basketball championship. Monday night in San Antonio, the Gators held on to top the Houston Cougars 65-63.